Hello, it's Monday Mental. Do Consulting and Care Management and Doing Life podcast is designed to provide educational and informational content for adult audiences. The views expressed by our hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily represent the official stance of any other entity. While we strive for accuracy, please note that the information provided may be subject to change or updates. We are committed to providing reliable content, but we encourage listeners to verify information independently. Thanks for tuning in. Trigger warning. Before we begin our show, we would like to take a moment to acknowledge that some of the content we are about to present mentions sexual abuse of a minor. This may be triggering for certain members of our audience. We understand that everyone's experiences and sensitivities are unique. If you or someone you know are considering harming yourself or others, or dying by suicide, please dial 988. There's always someone there to speak with you. Your well being is our priority, and we thank you for listening. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Do Consulting and Care Management Doing Life podcast. So, we are here today for part two of Call to Action. We're discussing the trauma of minors in the entertainment industry. So let's get started. You know, um, I wasn't really going to bring this up, but I keep seeing certain things oh, in the news about um, P. Diddy. Okay. Now, I'm not going to get into any of that because number one, um, he has not been convicted. He has not been arrested for any type of abuse. And I'm not saying he did or did not do it. But what I'm finding so interesting is now, throughout all of this that's been going on, I have not seen too much information about Brian Peck and Schneider. I'm not hearing anything about them. Okay. So I'm finding this kind of interesting. Now, granted that there was a documentary that was done. But the point I'm trying to make is that let's talk about some people who have actually been convicted of sexual abuse or child molestation. So I'm gonna get back to that. I just wanted to bring that up because hey, let's. I know how media is, but no, we're not going there. I'm gonna focus on who's actually been arrested, tried, and convicted, or enough information to where um, they have been fired from their jobs, they're not in the profession anymore. Okay, so I just want to put that out there because I like to keep balance, and that's kind of one of the things that is really important to me. So speaking of balance, I wanted to discuss two individuals who had parental support as they were beginning their career in entertainment, and that is Justin Timberlake and also Beyonce. Now, both of their families wanted them to be in the entertainment business. They didn't need them to be in the entertainment business, right? And what I mean by that is that they had the emotional support that they needed and the parents created the right environment for them to be mentally healthy as they went on this journey of becoming the fantastic stars that they became, the entertainers that they have become. So, They were very balanced in that, and they made sure that, you know, that they had their support to succeed in this in this business, which is very, I mean, it's really cutthroat. And having young people in the entertainment business, acting, whatever, they really need support from their family. So I just wanted to kind of bring that up. And there's a difference between wanting your children to be a part of this industry and needing your children to be a part of the industry. And what I mean by that, needing your children to be a part of the industry states that you are living off of their income. I mean, they are paying for your lifestyle. So there is a difference. So they did not want them to forfeit their childhood to be in the entertainment business. Now, on the other hand, when you have families, parents, or whoever their supporters are, guardians, or whoever's in charge of their lives, um, if they are not providing that same type of support, you are setting those children up to be manipulated, groomed, sexually assaulted, emotionally abused. I haven't heard anything so much about physical abuse, but the psychological abuse that some of the child actors had endured working with Nickelodeon is documented by research and also by the individuals who said these are the things that happened. So, prime example of children financing their parents' lifestyle. We know about Macaulay Culkin. We know about Gary Coleman. And, I think Jackie Coogan kind of just put the nail in the coffin because his mom and stepfather just depleted all of his earnings. And him taking them to court created legislation stating that these children must have a certain amount of money saved, and I guess like in a trust, so that they have something to survive off of, or whatever they want to do. I mean, they've earned this money. I mean, okay, prime example, I was just reading about her little, what's her name, Honey Boo Boo. Honey Boo Boo, now you remember her. She was pretty famous back, years back. But let me tell you this, Honey Boo Boo is basically broke. She does not have enough money to attend school in Colorado. Now, what happened to all of that money? Don't know, but she's literally asking for GoFundMe's, all these things to help her because now she wants to attend school and there's no money for her. That's terrible. I'm not quite sure what happened to the money, but it doesn't look like she has any of it. I don't know what happened to it. But anyway, so um, when the children are entrusting adults to be their support system and to make sure that they're safe is is betrayed by them being avoided, not showing up for them mentally, just taking them for their money. Um, you know, is it's excuse me, it's pretty heartbreaking. And you can live in your home, you can live with your mom and your dad, and you can still feel abandoned. It's not a phenomenon. It does happen. So one of the child actors that stars that came to my attention was Demi Lovato. Now, Demi Lovato was a huge financial provider for her parents, and it ended up just driving a wedge between them. And their relationship is it's very toxic. It's very dysfunctional. But the betrayal is. can be very traumatizing. So, um, also, I guess I would like to discuss what is going on with the guardians that I've read about, but I'm not getting a lot of information on it. So the guardians are allowed on set, and it made me think about Countess Vaughn when she had her uh, experience on the set at 8 years old. I mean, where are these actual guardians, or was that even a thing when she was acting when she first started out at 8 years old? But nevertheless, there was no one on the set for her. Also, there are reasons, of course, why they do not want the parents on the set. Now, one of the reasons is that they said they needed to keep things professional. They needed a professional environment. So I just, I mean, I understand that's what they say they wanted, but if you have crew members giving massages to other adults on the set, I'm not quite sure what kind of environment that is. But it's not professional at all, and it's also inappropriate. So the other issue is they say that the parents can be a distraction. Okay, I can see that being a problem, but then you have the guardians. I didn't get a lot of information on where exactly these guardians are, since the parents are not allowed on the set. And they're mainly, they're not allowed on the set for the distraction. And plus, you have the union rules, and they are very strict. They have their regulations, of safety regulations of who's allowed on the set. So that's one of their reasons. But I guess the guardians are cleared. Okay. So I don't know. Maybe the parents can come up with something where they need to put their foot down and say, well, we want to be guardians, but we will not be guardians for our own children that are on a set, but we'll be guardians for other children. There has to be some type of change here. So, I'm going to bring up Countess Vaughn as I did just a minute ago. So Countess Vaughn started acting when she was 8 years old, and she was on the set of 227. And like I said, not sure if there was any guardians on that set, but Countess was walking around one day on the set, and she overheard some of the cast members, or a cast member, saying that she was fat, black, and ugly. Now, being an 8 year old and hearing an adult, a full grown adult, saying cruel things about you is going to give you a different perspective on older people, number one. And number two, it's really going to affect you because you have to work with these people on the set. So I'm sure that put her in a very uncomfortable situation. Well, I was trying to figure out who would say something like that. And I was going through all the cast members. I started looking up things and checking out their bios, and no one really stood out. Well, I found out that it was Helen Martin, the one that played Pearl Shea, the real nosy neighbor that was always in everyone's business. She was the one that made that statement, and I'm not sure who she was talking to, but nevertheless, those words came out of her mouth. And to make matters worse, Countess was already dealing with self image issues, okay, because she wasn't the quote unquote normal looking child that would be on television. So she's dealing with those stereotypes and stigmas, and then she's on an all black cast, and she is being talked about by her own people of her own color. I mean, that's pretty heartbreaking. But she tried to justify what Helen said, because she's from a different era. No, there is no justification for being that cruel and that evil. Okay. And Helen has a set of her own, well, had, because she's deceased, but she had her own set of issues. I'm sure she did. I mean, you know, she was from the silent generation. So she was up in age. So I'm sure she had her own background, but to put that type of negative energy on a little girl is, it's terrible. I don't know if she ever found out that she hurt her or not, but just to make the statement wasn't okay. So as far as I can see, as far as with the parents, I could just make some suggestions here. Okay. Number one, they would need to demand the changes. Find out about the guardians, how they can become a guardian. What is it that they need to do so that they can be on the set? As I said, not for their child, but for other children that are on a different set. So I think that's important. And I get it about not wanting the parents to be there, especially when you're dealing with the younger children. I used to do early childhood education, and I would do consulting for child development centers. And one of the suggestions that I had made, because it looked like it was a problem, was that you had teachers that had children that attended the school. So their child would be in the same classroom as their parent. And I told them, I think it was causing issues and it could look like favoritism. And it's best to separate the mom and the child. Okay, so I get that. But there has to be a solution. They haven't come up with a solution as of yet, as far as what are we going to do, as far as how can we get the parents on the set. So I will also say that there really needs to be mental health check ins. Now, these parents spend a lot of time, they take their children, uh, I don't know, they make sure they have their physicals, they go to the dentist, um, whatever it is that they need to do so this child can present the best that they can. So, why aren't they including mental health? It's like, I think that's a huge part of being a whole person. You're actually looking out from the whole for the whole person from head to toe. You're not leaving out any body parts, and your mental health is important because you're traumatized, you're depressed, PTSD. It's going to affect you some type of way. And these kids don't really know how to express or say, hey, I'm feeling some type of way and I don't know what's going on. They don't know how to do that. They're going to act out, right? They're going to misbehave. They may, talk back or whatever the case may be. But having your child seen by a therapist, it should be inclusive in the medical checkup every 6 months. I mean, normally you go to the dentist every 6 months, so maybe it could be the dentist and the psychotherapist, right? I mean, some type of changes need to be done. And parents, and I'm saying all this because you know you can't live through your children. You just can't. And stressing your children out because you're trying to live through your children because you wanted to be an actor when you were a child and it didn't happen. So I'm going to put my child in the spotlight. No, that's it's not going to work. Um, Parents, you're going to have to let that dream go and let your children be children and let them decide if this is something that they want to do. It should not be anything forced. Now, the parents that are needing them, I think I'm mainly talking more to you because you are utilizing their services for your lifestyle. So I think you need to think about that. And be more considerate of what your child really wants. So I'm just curious. I will say this: sometimes there are documentaries and things, and you're like, well, who's actually watching these documentaries? Are the right people watching? For instance, are the parents that have children that are in the industry right now? I wonder, did they see it? I wonder, did it pique their interest and say, you know what? I need to have a conversation with, with my child to just check in with them. Yeah, I mean, those are the people that need to see it. The people that already have children in the industry. We don't know. Sometimes maybe they did, maybe they didn't. Sometimes we don't want to be accountable for not doing our part. So I don't know who have seen it, who's watched it, but that's just my perspective. So there just has to be a better culture of accountability. And, I think once we get a grip on that reality, that there are things that can happen when children are not properly supervised, and you might have someone that is a pedophile or is just inappropriate with children, yes, there has to be a better culture of accountability. And I mean, all the way from the top, from the very top, because they allowed these skits to go on. Um, they were informed about certain behaviors with Brian Peck, and it just went over their heads, and they just patronized the parent. Oh, he's just a friendly kind of guy, a little touchy feely. No, no, I don't care how touchy feely you are, but you're not going to be touchy feeling on my child. But it happened. So it's just time to make some changes. And it's going to be the responsibility, honestly, of the parents. Parents, don't wait for the industry to care about your children, because they don't. They're not going to care about them the way you're supposed to care about them. And it's prevalent and obvious based on what has been documented, what other children have said now that they're adults. I mean, now they're in their 30s, right? Look how long this has been for them to really talk about this. Things just have to be different. So um, that's this part of the conversation that I wanted to have. And we're going to continue on, but I just wanted to say it's time to make some changes. You're going to dim your child's light because of being manipulated, groomed, assaulted sexually, emotionally, psychologically, dealing with trauma, overeating, alcohol, drugs, becoming sexually promiscuous. There are so many things that can happen when a child is violated mentally or physically. There are repercussions. And parents, this is on you. This is your responsibility. And if you don't know what to do or where to go, they have primary care physicians that you can go and talk to. Go talk to your child's primary care physician and say, hey, okay, I have some concerns, and what do I do? But you can't make this be an excuse, because now that you've seen the documentary or tabloids or wherever you've gotten the information, now you know. You can't say that you are not aware. You can't use that as an excuse. If you were using it, you can't use it now. So step up for your children. Be there for your children. Please. So over the last 10 years of Countess Vaughn's acting career, starting with 227, she still struggled with her body, her skin tone, her hair. She just had all these things that um, were bothering her. She just felt like she didn't fit in. Well, she got on, she was on Moesha, and then when she was around 18, uh, I guess Moesha was, she was transitioning. I'm not quite sure about all of that, but Countess was 18 years old, and she had an opportunity to have her own sitcom with Monique. And she found out that she was pregnant. Well, she had to make a decision. Should she keep the baby, or should she take this opportunity of a lifetime to have her own sitcom? Well, she chose the latter, and she had an abortion. What she was saying, though, is that she personally aborted the baby. She would not go into any details of how she did this because she did not want to give any young ladies any ideas. But she said that she almost took her life for doing whatever, however she aborted the baby. It was pretty dangerous, and she did it all by herself. So she showed up for business as usual, but she said to this day she still regrets it. And the biggest thing that I believe was pushing her towards doing the sitcom um, is that she had a lot of responsibility, that she was financially responsible for some family members, maybe her parents, I don't know. But she was responsible financially for them, and she was under so much pressure, and she made that choice. And she was saying that throughout this time she had used all these different products on her face and these different glues for weaves, and she was just experimenting with makeup, anything, because she wanted to be that perfect girl. She wanted to look her best. Well, by her using all these different chemicals, because that's basically what they are, she caused severe damage to her face. It was so bad that she stayed in the house for 5 years. So that's a lot. When you already are dealing with a self image problem, and to have something so damaging happen to your face, when you've already been called ugly, right? And black from the recording that she's probably playing in her mind from Miss Helen or Pearl Shea from 227, I'm sure that recorder is playing in her head, right? She stayed in the house for 5 years. But here she is today. She has come to realize, after doing a lot of internal work, that it's not about the outside. She understands it's really not about the outside anymore. And she is continuously working on the inside. So I've provided several examples of young child actors that have had some really unfortunate experiences. Now, I have one more before I get into the main conversation that I want to dive into, because there's a couple of things that I want to touch on. So I found this information about Shirley Temple. I did mention when I did the research that something had happened to Shirley Temple, but I said, well, why is she a part of this? What happened? Okay, so one day Shirley Temple and her mother had gone to MGM Studios for a meeting. Interestingly, interestingly enough, Shirley and her mother were sent to two different offices. Okay? So Shirley went to Arthur Freed's office. She said that when she got in there, um, she was standing there for, I guess, a couple of seconds or whatever, and he turned around or came out of a room or whatever. He was stark naked. He had on zero clothes. I mean, all skin. And she said she'd never seen anyone naked before except for herself. So she's looking at this old man with, I'm sorry, my imagination just went there. This little girl looking at this weird old man standing there without any clothes on. Uh, She said that she was so shocked, all she could do, she just burst out laughing because she was like, she's never seen a male parts before. And Arthur Freed was so upset that he started yelling at her and he told her to get out. So she meets back up with her mother, and her mother asks her, how did everything go? And she said, well, it didn't go the way I expected. The mother said, yeah, neither did mine. So her mother was in the office with L.B. Mayer. Okay? So while she's in the office with him, L.B. Mayer, he's trying to come on to her. So if we look at it, of course, we know Shirley's experience was worse than her mother's. I don't know what happened after that, but that's what I found out. Very interesting. So, look how long ago that was. So, what does this tell you? This is a culture. This is like it's okay. It's like it's the norm for something to happen, for you being touched or violated or exploited. Or, I mean, this guy exposing himself to this, young lady. I think she might have been 10, maybe 10 or 11. Look, if we're going back that far, come on. This is the culture. There, I have discussed numerous cautionary tales and, circulating about child stars. Now, Jackie Coogan, Gary Coleman, Macaulay Culkin, these parents squandered their earnings. And it was so bad that Coogan situation ended up creating a legal, a law, a legislation came out of his experience, what happened to him, because they depleted all of his funds, his mother and stepfather. So there was a legal battle. Well, that legal battle prompted the legislation mandating a portion of the child actor's earnings be secured in a trust. Okay, that helps. But we know today about ongoing conflicts between celebrities and their parents over financial dependence. So these parents that are fighting with their children or the children fighting with their family um, are the ones that have been living off of their talents. So Demi Lovato's situation, um, she had a discussion about the turbulence in her family. She had been financially responsible for her parents for a very long time, and it literally caused a wedge between them. So money is and greed or power hungry parents, um, it's affecting long term relationships. But is it worth it? Okay, now we're going to have our segment on I was today's years old. So I was today's years old when I found out about Lisa Jalopter. Over the past 25 years, Jalopter has become a leader in the tech industry. One of her most notable jobs was an engineer for the earliest interactive multimedia platform, Shockwave. She helped develop the software behind the very first online video. Now, working with the team of engineers, she also created the GIF. You know that file format that we use. It uses the lossless data comprehensions to reduce the size of an image while maintaining their quality. The format quickly became popular on the internet as it has allowed web developers to add short animations to their websites. Yeah, so that's that. So I want to thank you all so very much for tuning in to I Was Today's Years Old. Thank you so very much for joining us for part two. Stay tuned for part three of Call to Action. I thank you all for joining us, and we will have part three on Monday Mental Call to Action. Thank you so very much. I wish you all self wealth, and the rest will follow.